يا هلا 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 حن قلبي على جمعة الخير هلا حن قلبي على جمعة الخير هلا يا هلا ويا هلا ويا هلا ويا هلا يا هلا ويا هلا ويا
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the program. It's a Saturday morning and great to be with you right here on Let's Talk. We have a few interesting discussions that we're going to be sharing with you. We'll be looking at a survivor of domestic violence. We're also going to be talking about how to deal with a narcissistic partner or possibly just someone in your family who is a narcissist. How do you deal with him? And how do you navigate life around a narcissistic person? But first up, we're going to be talking to a lovely young lady. Her name is Tinswalo Masiye, and she's going to talk about her journey of success against all the odds. So let's hear from this young lady, and hopefully it's going to inspire you. If you haven't followed your dreams and feel that it's way too late, I think it ain't ever too late to make dreams become a reality in your life, exactly as Tinswalo is going to outline in the show this morning. Morning, welcome to the program.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. It's great to have you in studio.
Great to be here too.
I understand you have a very inspiring story to share with us.
Yes, I do.
You run your own successful recruitment company. You're also a life coach. And what else do you do?
I basically raise my kids.
And how many are they?
I've got 3 now.
Okay.
Yes.
Your story started out on the wrong foot, or at a very disadvantaged point. But your story is no different to millions of young South African women who find themselves probably pregnant, unplanned teenage pregnancies while still at school. And you found yourself in a very similar situation. And we do know that creates and causes a huge burden on the state. It's the taxpayer that has to carry that burden. You were about how old when you found out that you were pregnant?
I was 17.
And you were still at school?
I was.
What was going through your mind? Did you kind of feel life has come to an end? Possibly at a standstill, because you're going to have this little life that you need to provide for and to take care of.
You know, the mind works in a way of influence, you know. It's never really your own sole decision to feel as if the world has come to an end. It's more everyone else who's around you who makes you feel like
that way.
Yes, they make you feel that way. They make you feel like you won't amount to nothing and not much is really going to come out of your life because of this responsibility, you know, because it is a responsibility. And for someone who's fragile, who's a teenager, you deal with a whole lot of personal emotions, and also looking at the household you grow up in, those also contribute in how you start feeling about yourself and how far you're going to start actually going in life, right? So I was in grade 11 when I found out. I'm someone who's got a very strong backbone, irrespective of how people will try and make me feel, because I had incidences where teachers would make me feel really small about myself. And sitting in class,
because you were pregnant.
Yes, I always had to wear a brave face. I'd never just comfortably have a discussion with my teacher who would just say, you know what, Tinswalo, things are going to be okay. Don't be discouraged. Keep working hard. Everyone turned the blind eye and made me feel very...
Now, you found out that you were pregnant, and despite that, you still chose to continue going to school to a point where it would not be possible to carry on going to school.
Yes.
Why did you make that decision, knowing that you probably would be the butt of everyone's jokes, and the fact that there'd be unkind adults like some of the teachers who put you down even further?
I've been someone who's had an undenying fire burning within me, and I've always never doubted my ability to make things happen because I know how the universe and God works. So I had told myself that, okay, school is part of growing up, part of learning, part of becoming something that is solid. Right? But I knew that, okay, if I leave school now and start looking at my responsibilities, this will allow me to actually find the inner purpose that is within me, that is self-driven and that is guided by my intuition. And that's exactly what I did when I left school.
Okay, so did you complete matric or not?
I didn't.
Right, so you left school because then it was time to birth your baby.
Yes.
What type of support did you have from parents?
Family. I didn't have much support. You know, growing up as black children, like your parents will always tell you, no, this is such a responsibility on us now. You need to find your own way. You basically become independent, like literally.
But you still continued living at home?
I did. I did. So I wasn't chucked away. My mom was there, but most of the emotional support came from myself. And yeah, that's what actually cornered me to hunger even more to create a better life for myself.
So baby was born, you dealt with this little new life in your life, giving meaning possibly to your life. What were you thinking? What's your next step, and how did you go about taking that next step? Because you now were not only responsible for your own life, you had this helpless little creature that was totally dependent on you.
For starters, it made me realize that people can be selfish and people come here to fulfill their own selves, right? And it taught me that I now need to start looking within myself to find what I came here to do, because by doing that, I create more. And by creating, I'm able to provide. So the more I drew closer to my purpose was the more my purpose started opening up opportunities for me to be able to create something that can put food on the table, that can help my daughter to go to school. You know what I mean? So that's where it led me. Just analyzing how people live their day to day and how one needs to just become their own hero, not really blame their parents for where they are or why they aren't.
Don't be a victim. So how old was baby when you started realizing your purpose, and what was your purpose?
Immediately after I gave birth, I actually had started a campaign called Embracing Blessings. And that campaign was to empower and uplift pregnant teens and young moms. You know, there's all these campaigns, there's cancer campaigns, there's HIV campaigns. And when you look at teenage pregnancy, it's not really something we can say, how do we stop it? It's something we say, how do we then take these victims or take these young moms who are shackled, who don't know what to do with themselves? How do we then instill this hope in them? How do we create opportunities for them? How do we not exclude them? So that was what was ringing in my head. How do I then draw all these young women who are lost, who don't have any drive, who don't have any support, but who feel the world owes them stuff,
and probably also feel my world has come to an end because I'm shackled to this child till he or she reaches the age of 18 perhaps.
Right. So with me, I found purpose in that because it taught me that we are all connected, we are all one, and we're all here to serve one big purpose. But by understanding the fact that me and you holding hands and going through stuff together helps the both of us. It's not just your own journey. We now become one, because now through me helping you, through me advising you, I also keep reliving it, and it becomes intrinsic now. You know what I mean?
So talk to us about the first few steps you took. How many doors did you need to knock on? Was there ever a time when you felt, I can't anymore, way too many doors are being closed in my face? As you sit here, I see a very determined young woman, and I have no doubt in my mind that you went on knocking on those doors. So talk to us about that journey, and what were, who were the people that were also supporting or possibly instrumental in you getting where you are today? There's people who naturally have an energy that just draws people. So I believe I've got that. So everywhere I went, I could let people listen to me, and they'd really take in what I say. So with the doors I used to knock on, people would just be open to what I'd say, and they'd be happy that I'm actually doing something that no one else is doing. So what is it that you were saying? And in the meantime, whilst you were giving this little sermon of yours, who was looking after your little daughter? Because you couldn't cart her along with you everywhere.
Right. This now comes into play, right? Fathers, there's absent fathers and there's fathers that are there for their kids. So with me, I had a in-between father. He was present, but he really wasn't present. So everything lied on me. I had to now go get a part-time job, which I was lucky enough. It was a good paying job. With that job, I used to pay for nursery school. So within that hours that I had of my daughter being in school, I'd then be liaising with people. And that's what would allow me to have that time to keep connecting and knocking on doors and just trying to push the word.
That you're wanting to make a difference in the lives of
many
teenage
others, yes.
pregnant women who, when they find themselves in the situation, their life comes literally to a standstill. And if nothing is done, if no opportunities are open to them, they're going to either end up being totally unemployed or end up being domestic workers. That's going to be their lot in life. You turn that situation around. Let's go for an ad break. When we come back, I'm going to ask you to unpack exactly what it is that you said to your benefactors about giving you a hand up. Tinswalo is in studio talking about her amazing journey. She now owns her own recruitment company. She found herself being a pregnant, unmarried teenage mom, but she decided she's not going to let it get her down. She's going to turn the situation around and make a success of her life. More with Tinswalo right after the ad break. Tinswalo Masie is in studio sharing her inspirational story, and basically the reason we have her in studio is to let other people learn from her story. And if you suffer any setback in life, whatever it might be, just know that if you believe in yourself, there definitely will be a light at the end of the tunnel. So that exactly is what happened to you. You wanted to support other pregnant teenage girls who probably had no future or, hope of a future. What exactly did you do? Did you start a support group?
I did. I would go to antenatal clinics where they usually go for their checkups and just find out, like, who are you? What do you want out of life? What's your support structure? How do you plan on continuing school? And so forth. It got to a point where I actually wanted to build a nursery school so that it could be funded by the government or whoever who'd be interested in funding, so that these young girls can then leave their infants or their kids so they are able to go find jobs. Because most of the setbacks is because there isn't a solid family support system. So when there isn't a family support system, there really isn't much that you can do, because now there isn't anyone who's going to be there to watch your kid for you while you try get a job or get an education.
You were in that space for a little while, but you realized that you needed more. You needed to grow as a person. You needed to put food on the table. So what was your next step?
My next step was, like I said, I got lucky in terms of jobs. I did marketing for some company.
Without any formal education?
Nope. Like I said, I've got
just
an energy.
Self-belief.
I just started owning the type of person I wanted to be, and I started actually walking into that person's shoes. And yeah, that got me to a position where I now found myself starting the recruitment agency.
You were in marketing for a while.
In sales for a while.
Okay, so now you saw a gap in the market and you decided you want to place people in suitable jobs.
Yes.
We do know that South Africa is flooded with recruiters and a contract, people trying to, labor contractors as they call themselves. What made you think that you'd be successful in this space?
Success is for us all, anything you tell yourself you'll be successful in automatically happens that way. And it's proven to be that way with what I've been doing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So you went on to start up a recruitment company. How did you start? Did you have any leads or did anyone ask you to find them placements? Because you've got to start somewhere. Talk to us about that process. For people listening in this morning and watching this morning, at least they have an idea of how to start up. It's great to have self-belief. It's great to know that whatever I wish and dream can become a reality. But we also have to be realistic and know that there are going to be hurdles in the, on the way. So how did you take those small steps that has realized your dreams?
Well, one of my mantras is basically living in the moment, right? And being present. And I believe that through presence, the universe is able to now communicate, send people, send ideas for your desired outcome. So I just started living my life on a moment-to-moment basis, just with the idea of that I'm going to run a successful recruitment company.
But you have to start up. Where and how do you start?
With everything. Like, everything is at our disposal. You can Google tutorials. You can, it's like makeup, like food, everything is literally on the internet. You Google, it tells you how to do stuff.
Okay, I want to know specifically how you went through the process.
I know people who are in recruitment,
right,
and I'd hear how they talk and how they do stuff and all of that. I just picked up on that. I was like, oh, okay, so this is how you do it. And why are you doing it for someone else instead of yourself? It's you basically bringing the leads. You are the one communicating with the clients. You're the one who's finding all these candidates, who's, So I thought, okay, this is actually an easy task and something I can relate with because I'm really good with people. Yeah.
Okay, so you work from home?
I work from home. I call from my cell phone. I work off my laptop. I literally am my own boss, and I don't need offices. I don't need landline. I literally make with what I have, and it actually does the job.
So what's the recruitment agency called, and how long have you been in operation?
It's called Refumu Talent Specialists, and we've been in operation for 6 months now, but it's doing extremely well.
Oh, that's wonderful. How do you market yourself?
How do I market myself?
Yeah, your recruitment company.
Obviously, now we've got a database because we do marketing calls. Through those marketing calls, we get clients, and we then are able to capture their details and continuously send our information out to them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And how do you recruit suitable candidates to match them up to the jobs that are available?
There's lots of platforms that allow you to access people's CVs and find those suitable candidates.
So there's no one that comes to you directly?
No.
This is all based purely on social media platforms.
Yep.
And you are exploiting that gap in the market?
Yes, I am.
How many people have you placed thus far?
Oh my gosh, I haven't kept count.
Top of
I
your
haven't
head?
kept count. Top of my head. Oh my gosh.
Okay, so you haven't, this is a very informal little operation that you're running.
Yes.
Are you planning on formalizing it, or is it working great for you as it is?
It is formalized, but it's more smarter the way I'm operating it, because I'm not trying to have overheads. I'm not trying to be paying for rent. I'm not trying to, if I'm able to do everything at my own capacity, why do I need expenses that will be unnecessary? Yeah.
Where to from here? You also told me that you are a life coach. When, how did that happen for you?
When and how?
Yeah.
Well, I've been someone who's been passionate about touching people and just getting through to them. I'm someone who's inspired by a lot of writers who are a lot of spiritual people who talk about presence, people who talk about consciousness. I'm basically a consciousness advocate. I like anything that talks about presence and just being one with life and with God and nature. So that started when I realized my love for that. And it also started translating, because every time I'd communicate with people, I'd find myself really at a point where I'm able to open up their level of thinking and their perspective. Yeah.
So you obviously went on a formal course so that you can impart this knowledge with other people as well.
It wasn't like everything in my life has been informal.
So why should I come to you knowing that you don't have a formal background in coaching? Give me a good reason why I should come to you for coaching.
Because my training is actually the people that I've trained, the people I've mentored,
the people that you've coached and mentored.
All of them have success stories as well. They're independent people doing their own thing.
So if I came to you, how long would I need to spend with you for you to mentor and coach me? What are you going to unpack? What's the opening line between you and I when we sit down in our first session?
Remember, coaching is something that is It's not just fundamental. It's something that begins with you spiritually. So it depends where you are in terms of your spirituality, in terms of your mental space. You know what I mean? Where are you with that? If you're someone who is teachable, someone who is open to being taught, then everything will flow easily for you, because this is all stuff that you already know, but because now you aren't living in the present moment, you are clouded by tomorrow and yesterday. I don't know if you get me.
So I don't necessarily have to come to you. What I'm hearing you say is, if you're savvy enough, you can go onto the internet and you can self-coach and self-mentor.
Definitely.
But what about, a lot of people are also of the opinion that I had in my Wednesday show, I was talking to a young man, and he said that without the mentorship in his life with another real human being, he wouldn't have achieved the success he's achieved up to now. And I think I'm that type of person. I've got to interact with human beings. So coaching via the internet won't work for me. Mentoring won't work for me. I need a real life person in front of me. So if I come to you, what are you going to do with me? What are you going to draw out from me?
I basically need to pick up on your energies and remember where we are in that present moment would only guide me as to how I approach you, how we unpack how you are feeling and where you want to go. Because what you can be right now, you can be a different person tomorrow again because of where
circumstances,
you know what I mean?
True, and
not just circumstances, but just we never really know who we are until we are really present with ourselves. So the moment I am in a space with you where I feel, okay, you have now reached that clarity, that you understand your soul purpose, then it's easy for me. Like, you'll even find that I won't even need to mentor you. You'd already know what you need to do and where you need to go at that time.
Two things that jump out at me as you speak. You're talking about being present, being mindful, and your soul purpose. Easier said than done, is it not? I mean, it's easier, and you are in the space where you know yourself, you are mindful, you are in the present. But it's easier said than done. How does one get to that space? Give us a simple, easy, do it yourself.
This is the simplest. And I'll make a scenario. If I were to ask you right now to do yesterday or tomorrow, would that be possible? Would it? It wouldn't be. The only thing you really can do is now. So I've trained myself to literally live in the present moment. I don't anticipate the future. I don't try and remember the past. I literally be where it all is. And when I'm where it all is, I'm able to connect with people correctly. I'm able to express myself correctly. I'm able to pick up on energies and signs that the universe gives me for me to get to where I say I'm going.
And sadly, we're all stuck in that space, aren't we? Carrying all the baggage from, never mind yesterday, from years and months gone
it's something
past.
I like to call psychological time. We create psychological time where we are constantly waiting or remembering that we let the present moment pass us.
Absolutely, and then worried about tomorrow because I'm stuck in the past, all the baggage from the past. The future looks horribly cloudy, and I shouldn't be worried about the future. I should be living in the now.
Yes.
We've only got 1 minute to wrap up time. What's your message for our viewers this morning in living in the present, finding yourself and following your true purpose?
It's basically that. Like, just try to be as present as possible. It's very hard. And stuff like meditation are a good way to start, for you to actually start self-realization. So meditation, yoga, and just now start drawing your mind to who you are, start analyzing what you want, and I think things just start coming easier for you when you are present because you aren't too clouded.
And that's all we have time for. Thank you indeed for sharing your story with us.
Thank you so much.
So as you can see, absolutely anything and everything is possible. It's just a matter of applying your mind and remain in the present, be in the moment, forget the past, don't carry baggage with you, don't worry about the future. It's going to sort itself out. And it's a morning of success stories with women. The first one was someone who was pregnant in school. She was a teenage pregnant mom and she had to fend for herself. She spoke to us about how she turned her situation around. Our next guest is Cindy Joel. She too was a victim, but she was a victim of domestic violence. And the Institute for Security Studies tells us that up to 51% of South African women suffer domestic violence at some point in their lives. Some, sadly, are even killed in the process. Cindy is here to talk about her story and what a success she has made in her life. Morning, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much. I'm very happy to be here. Thank you so much. Well, I encountered that kind of abuse, I think, twice in different relationships.
Ooh.
Yeah, so I think from the first one to the second one. So it was.
Let's start with the first one, your first relationship. How did the relationship progress, and when and how did you realize that you're a victim of domestic violence, and if you don't get out of here, you're going to be very, very badly hurt or possibly killed? Talk to us about how it leads up to the point where you start getting beaten up.
Yeah, the thing is, when you start being in the relationship with a person, they don't show you those signs of those things. They don't tell you that they're abusive. They don't tell you that, okay, after a while, I'm going to start abusing you. In the beginning, the relationship is sweet. The man is doing everything for you. He's taking care of you. And then you begin to see signs of anger, which is one thing that I noticed, that most abusive men, they actually have issues with anger, because it's always the anger that triggers that kind of behavior. Yes. So with me, I realized the anger issues, but then I was like, okay, it seems like you've got anger, but the scariest part is that they don't want you to address that issue. They don't want you to address their anger, because the minute you tell the person that I've realized that you've got anger, I need you to deal with your anger because I don't like it. When you start addressing those issues that they make that kind of a human to come out of them, that's where the problem actually starts, which is what happened. So it went from anger, and then from anger it goes to the first time he slaps you, which comes out to be a shock to you, because maybe you are just in an argument and then all of a sudden the person just slaps you. I remember the first time I was slapped and I was like, I didn't even cry. I was kind of like shocked, like, okay, did this man just cry? I was like, okay, did this man just slap me? And it was unbelievable, because he was a great gentleman. I was like, okay, did this person just actually slapped me?
Did you believe at that point in time that you deserved it? Because a lot of victims are in a situation, or the perpetrator makes them believe that it was their fault and they deserved to be beaten up or smacked or slapped or abused in any form.
I can never believe that. I didn't even
at that point, did you not think that?
Never. That's why I'm saying I was even shocked. Like, I can never even believe that, because I don't believe in abuse. I was not raised in abuse. But then what I've noticed is that most of the people, they allow men to do that because of the past experiences, or maybe in the family, or between the relationship between parents. Maybe they see it at home. Maybe they saw someone doing it and the person never got out. So they start to think like, okay, maybe this is life, or that's how it's supposed to be done. But with me, I was so shocked. So I just stood there and I was like, did you just slap me? And he said, I'll do it again. I said, no, it's not going to happen again. And that's where the fight started.
And what happened thereafter?
He kicked me. So
he beat up on you?
So when I realized that this person is actually beating me up now, it's no longer a slap. I realized there was like a glass. I think there was a bottle of glass somewhere next to me. I actually picked it up and tried to throw it back at him. So that's when it hits the wall, and that's what made his mind like, okay, what is happening here? And it was even funny because we were traveling. It was at a hotel. It was not even at home.
So that action on your part to protect yourself shocked him into reality.
It shocked
What happened thereafter? I'm thinking about, did he realize what he had just done? And did an apology follow? What played out thereafter, and how much longer did you stay in that relationship? Was it just a once-off and you decided, I need to get out here? Or did you say to yourself, I need to give him another chance?
I didn't come out of that relationship in the beginning, because also it was something that happened for the first time. So after that,
Did he apologize?
Yes.
Did he tell you it'll never happen again?
Yes.
And you believed him?
Yes. He actually said, no, I don't even know what came over me. I don't know what pushed me to this extent, what. And then we even just drove back home. And I was like, I'm not even going to go to your house. I just want to go to my mom's place. I'm not even going to, because I was scared. I was like, what just happened?
Are you of the belief that when it happens the first time, that's the start of a repetitive pattern?
Yes.
That indicates the type of person this is, that it's going to carry on and on and on in your life. We're not only talking physical abuse, we're talking mental, verbal and emotional abuse as well. Because when it starts the first time, or when it starts in the relationship at any point, that behavior is not going to stop. It's going to continue. Am I right?
That's what happens all the time.
How long were you in the relationship?
Yeah, I think
Thereafter?
I think for about a year more. And I think he actually, I think I encountered that kind of abuse in
How
that year.
many times more?
Might be 3 or 4 times. I think 3 times. I think it was 3 times, because I remember when I said the 3rd time that
Enough
I'm
is enough.
walking out, because if I allow this thing to cross over the 3rd time, then it means I've given this man power to do as he pleases with me, or maybe I'm giving an image that I'm desperate. Why should I stay in that kind of a relationship? I started thinking about my kids, because I had kids. It's like I had a daughter at that time. My son was not yet born. So I actually reflected back, like, okay, what if my daughter wakes up the next morning and they say your mother died and your mother was killed by this man? So when she grows up, what kind of a mentality is she going to have? I started thinking about my mom. I started thinking about my family, my sister, my daughter. I was like, okay, I'm not going to deal with this.
Now, when all of this was playing out, did you, as an African woman, and I know a lot of Asian cultures as well, Middle East and Far Eastern cultures, it's almost, sad to say, acceptable that men, to a certain extent, do tend to push their weight around. I'm not going to say abuse, because abuse is not acceptable, but they do tend to they do take on the role of control and power in the household, and sometimes they go over the edge, and if they do slap you a couple of times, even the community and family members think it's okay. It's a man's prerogative. Did you accept that as the status quo, or did you say that's not for me? And did you go out and seek professional help?
The first person I opened up to was my sister, and they didn't believe it. That's the thing. The person has this kind of character and image that even if you go and tell someone that this person did to me, they won't believe you. So I told her, I said, I think this man has this kind of a problem. I don't know how, but I think I need to come out of this thing. And then I told my mom as well, and it was unbelievable to them. They were like, okay, we don't think that men can ever do that. Remember, this man is a good man. He's taking care of you. You're finishing your studies. You're doing this. I was like, no. So they're like, no, men sometimes they're like that. You have to be submissive. I said, To me, submission is when you submit to somebody who loves you, and it has to come naturally, because you will be giving into something that has been given to you, not that you have to stay in an abusive relationship.
There are people, especially our gogos and older aunts, that believe mistakenly that it's his prerogative to do that. He's just asserting himself. He loves you and he'll carry on looking after you. Or the flip side of that is, you asked for it, you deserve it. You're a nag. And people in the family would continue saying, oh, she deserves the hiding. She deserves to be abused mentally, physically, or whatever, because she's the problem, he's not the problem. She pushed him over the edge.
I got that as well. I got the issue of, this man doesn't like this. Why do you have to go and do that? If you do this, then it becomes like this. I was like, no, that is not life. Because no matter what happens when he wrongs me, do I have the power to do what he does to me? Can he actually sit down and take the beating? Can I tell him that you have done this wrong, sit down, let me take this and start beating you? Why does it have to come to him? Why doesn't he think about it that, okay, what if this woman was the one that is doing this for me for being wrong? How many times does he wrong me, and what do I do?
Now, was it only the beatings, or was it verbal abuse
as well? Because you get to be told that I'm doing this for you, I'm taking care of you. Most of the time, if your family is disadvantaged or you have problems financially, it's almost with my experiences, it was always the issue of, I'm doing this for you, I'm taking care of you, I'm taking you to school, things like that. And then the
so
person
you were a
started to think
financial
like,
slave to him.
Yes, like he tends to think like, I own you because I do so much for you. So I was like, okay, I'm working. If it's going to be the issue of you feel like you can do this because you are doing certain things for me, that means I don't need you because I'm working. And from the beginning of the relationship, the reason I got into the relationship was love, not money, because I'm working. So that means we can just separate, because that means there's no love here.
Let's hold that thought. We're going to continue right after the ad break. We're talking domestic violence with our lovely guest, Cindy Joel. She's sharing her experience with us, and if it sounds familiar, then let it be a wake-up call for you. Sometimes we are stuck in relationships because we believe there's nothing better out there for us. But if we're strong enough and if we respect ourselves enough, then maybe it's just time for us to out of the relationship. Welcome back. We're now talking about violent partners, but later on in the show, we'll be talking to motivational coach Razia Mohammed, who is no stranger to us here at ITV. She's going to come in and talk to us about narcissistic partners, and I think it's such a natural follow-on on the discussion we're having right now, and that is domestic violence. Back to you. Did you ever decide at any point in your life, I love this man, I'm prepared to put up with this for now, I'll try and get a bit of professional help, and just maybe our situation will improve?
I never even wanted that,
Why
because
not?
I've already seen how it can get. I didn't want to risk my life until the situation is worse or is beyond control, or I wake up dead and I don't have the chance or opportunity to do that again, because firstly, you don't know why that person is doing that.
You didn't go for professional help, but did you ask any friends or family to intervene and to speak to him and tell him that his behavior is unacceptable?
Yes, I did. When I moved out, even the way I moved out, because I reached a level where I was very scared of him. I had to steal some of my clothing and stuff when he wasn't there. So when he came back and realized that, okay, this girl took her clothes and stuff, that's when he realized that I think she's leaving me. So he followed me to my house. When he got there, I was actually happy because of his anger. When he came to the house, he was so angry he forgot he's in the presence of my family members, to the point where he pushed my own mother. So I was like, okay, now you see what I'm talking about, because how do you push my own mother?
You didn't go for professional help. You decided to break away from him.
Yes.
Did you ever consider opening a case of domestic violence against him? If not, why not?
I never thought about it, or anyhow, I don't know if it was just my way, because I just told him that, I forgive you for everything. I forgave him for everything. I'm a very spiritual person. I just said, if I'm not staying, I didn't even want to ruin his status where he was working. I said, okay, as much as he has done this, I'm breaking out and I'll no longer be part of this. He has kids. He had 2 twins from his previous relationship. I was like, okay, if those kids now, they're gonna wake up and they hear that, okay, my daddy is arrested for this, my daddy is abusive. I thought about that as well. So I said, okay, fine, since I'm working out, he has kids, let me not ruin his reputation and everything because of of the kids. Those kids were the only reason why I didn't do that.
What
But
was
I
the
walked
final
out.
straw for you to walk out on him? And what were the consequences of walking out on him?
The final straw for me to walk out, it was a day that I actually didn't even do anything wrong, that I can even say, okay, if this man had anger, this triggered the anger. It just came from nowhere. It came from nowhere. He beat me up so bad that afterward he even opened a tub of water, hot water. Imagine somebody beats you up, and after that they take you and put you inside the same hot water. And when you're trying to jump out, and he's like forcing you inside. Now at that moment in time, to me, all I saw was death. I was like, okay, I'm dying today. I just have to know that I'm dying. So that was even the last day till today. That was the last time I stepped in his house. That was the last time I was face to face with him.
Didn't he try and stop you, lure you, or ask you to come back and to forgive him and start all over again?
He did through my family. Actually, I made sure that I moved. I made sure I don't even see him till today. I made sure I don't even communicate with him. I cut him off from all my social media accounts. I even changed my numbers.
You then, you regrouped, you healed yourself hopefully from the process. You didn't go for professional counseling, anything, on your own and with the support of family and friends. You pulled yourself together and carried on with your life.
Yes.
You started a business.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about the business before we start the next disastrous chapter in your life. Another violent relationship.
Oh, I actually, with the same man that the one that I was telling you about, he didn't even have any businesses. It was my ideas, everything. So everything he started, it was me. I started a business with him and everything. I had to break away from that and start from nothing.
So your business, you're wearing a beautiful jacket, which you've just told me that you designed and sewed yourself.
Yes.
How much of your business that you started grounded you and made you even further believe in yourself?
Well, the first thing that came to my mind, because of what I've experienced in my relationship life, I've had bad experiences in relationships, and I ended up having a son again, which led to having a daughter and a son without a father, because I'm a single parent. I married and remarried, I married and remarried, and that happened twice. So I came to the reality of maybe I need to take care of myself. Maybe I should stop looking for people to take care of me.
There are people who believe that with due respect to you, that you deserve what you get, because it's a type of men that you attract in your life. And that is why you've had two relationships where the men were violent and you were involved in domestic violence issues. How do you respond to that? And I'm sure you got that from family and friends. What is it about you that you go out and look for these type of men, attract these type of men in your life?
I don't know how they find me. I don't know how they found me, but most of the people that I've been in a relationship with, they got attracted to my ideas, the kind of personality I had, my character, the way I see life, what I want to become. Like, I always have this plan in my life that, I'm going to become this, I'm going to do this, and I do it and I run after it. So you never know. So
you're a go-getter,
yes,
and yet you've had 2 failed marriages.
Yes.
How do you feel about that?
I don't feel bad, because through my process of healing, through going to church, having to uplift my spiritual life, believing in God, it came to me as the point of, okay, sometimes you go through certain things because you are going to assist people with similar situations. I took it as an experience, and I actually set myself down and say, okay,
so it
I'm
wasn't
do
your
my
fault.
Life. No
Okay.
ways.
So how are you helping people through this experience? What is it that you're doing that you believe you're touching lives in a better way because of your 2 failed abusive marriages?
It's actually, I make them, like you said, there are people who believe that they deserve it.
So do you have a support group?
No, I do it on my own. I don't know how, but I just manage.
Reach out.
Yes, and I find people actually healing and going back. Like recently, there's a lady I recently dealt with. She told me she's been in that relationship for 8 years. Sometimes the guy just beats her up. He abuses her. And sometimes he disappears for 2 weeks. She wouldn't even know where the guy is. And when he comes back, she can't even ask him, where are you from? Because the minute she asks, then they're fighting. I had to sit her down. I told her, okay, point number 1, where are you going in life? Where are you going? Do you see your future? Do you ever sit down and say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to go get this?
So you need a plan if you want to get out of an abusive or any relationship. You need to have a plan of how you're going to move forward, because if you don't have a plan, you're going to be stuck in that relationship. Talk to us about your second failed marriage due to domestic violence issues, and then how you rescued yourself out of that and made a success of your life.
This one was quite shocking. Because even now when I'm talking about it, I think if ever people are going to watch, they're even going to be more shocked, because that was a recent marriage.
How long ago?
Not so long ago. I think we broke up 7 months after the white wedding.
Oh, and that was how long ago?
Recently.
Yeah, like 3 months, 2
October.
months? October. Okay. What happened there?
There was a serious verbal, psychological kind of abuse that you don't even know.
What were the events that led up to it?
It was anger, and then the person tells you every bad thing possible that they can say about you. I don't know why I married you, and then there's insults that I can't even mention on TV. The person just wakes up and they're insulting you, they're insulting your family, they're saying the worst things about you every day, and somehow it makes them feel better. You don't understand what is actually going on, and the person tells you, you know what, I actually regret marrying you. I don't even know where we are going. Actually,
so the first time he said that, so in that relationship it was only verbal abuse, not physical.
He never touched me.
What is going through your mind, and did you decide, I need to out of this person's putting me down way too much? Or did you want to give him another opportunity?
We went to different kinds of counseling.
You did go for counseling?
I don't know how many times, where they were even telling him that, what's your reason for this? What's your reason for this? He didn't even have answers. But now it's something that was happening. And when he starts shouting, when he starts screaming at you, when he starts telling you all those words, he doesn't care who is there. He doesn't care where you are. It might be in the middle of the mall. He might start calling, he will just start calling you names right there and there.
Okay, we've got 2 minutes to wrap up.
Okay.
What is the advice you want to give to other women in a similar situation, in domestic violence type of situations, verbal or otherwise? What is your message to them?
Don't wait for it to happen twice. Don't wait for it to happen the third time. Walk away, walk out. Your life is more precious and more important than having to risk your life up to the point of death.
What about perhaps giving the person, everyone deserves a second chance in life, agree to go for marriage counseling or some form of counseling to help the person get over the reason why they react in the way they do? And if that doesn't work, then you walk away.
I wouldn't put myself through something that I don't know what's going to happen, if it's going to work or not. That's risking my life. Okay, what if we go through that counseling and it's actually even making you angry between you, because now you get the idea of, this girl is going to leave me. What are you going to do to me? What if it's actually what's going to make
let's leave it there very quickly. Just in 1 minute, tell us about your business.
Okay, I make tailor-made clothes, I make tailor-made suits, I make wedding gowns, I make dresses and
all
everything.
Without formal training. It's just a gift that you've got.
It just started between me and my brother, and we have grown. Now we are dressing up mayors, like government officials.
How long are you in business?
The shop has been open for a year, but we've been doing it from 2015.
How do people get in touch with you?
Okay, we have a page, is Tabo the Stylist. We have the page for the shop is Uvola, and also on Facebook they can search me. It's Cindy Jewel. My number is 062-061-3799.
And that's where we leave it. I'm so glad that you rescued yourself from a horrible situation, and that is domestic violence.
Yes, thank you so much.
And there you have it. Cindy tells us that you don't have to be a victim. You can and you must get out of your situation. If you believe that counseling is going to work, I firmly believe, give it a shot. Try a couple of sessions of counseling. give your partner the opportunity to heal himself, to find himself, and to fix the brokenness in his own life and around him. And if that doesn't work, then it's time for you to leave the relationship. Still to come, Razia Mohammed to talk to us about partners who are caught up in narcissistic behavior. How do you deal with them? Do you remain in those relationships? Are they similar to domestic violence partners? We'll hear from Razia. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, and into the final segment of the show. Once again, we have one of our regulars in studio, the lovely Razia Mohammed, who is a life coach, motivational speaker, and a mentor. Now, we're going to be talking to her about narcissistic partners or narcissistic people in our lives. How do they impact on us? How do they make our lives an utter misery? And I'm also wondering if this is not possibly a natural follow-up on our previous interview with Cindy Joel, where she spoke about 2 marriages and both of them being very, very abusive. Is that saying or suggesting that narcissistic people can cross boundaries and become abusive people as well? So Razia's in studio and we're going to talk about narcissistic people in our lives. Assalamu alaikum, welcome to the program.
Wa alaikum salam, Julie, how are you doing? Thank you for having me.
Always a pleasure, always a pleasure. Alhamdulillah, wonderful to have you here yet again. Now, I've spoken about domestic violence, and we are here to talk about narcissistic people in our lives, possibly even narcissistic partners. Before we get to the space of control and domestic violence or violence in any form, what exactly is a narcissistic person?
So a narcissist has an inflated view of themselves. So they live in a make-believe world where they are king and master, or queen, and master.
Are women are also narcissistic?
Women are narcissistic as well. It's not only confined to the male space.
Which is worse, a woman narcissist or a male narcissist?
It depends on the individual personality, because we all come from a past of experiences and circumstances in our lives. So we can't say that women are more effective as narcissists or men are more effective as narcissists. It comes from your own personal space. So what happens is a narcissist comes from a past with negative experiences. So they may have been abused as a child. And that creates this narcissistic personality disorder. So
you're not necessarily born, as a narcissist, a personality trait which is going to determine that you grow up being a narcissistic personality.
You're not necessarily born, because
it's because of your experience.
It's a negative disorder. So it's something that you pick up, and then whatever works for you as a human being. Like if you are a housewife and a certain recipe works for you, you're going to keep using that recipe. So narcissists choose empaths. So empaths are people that have a low self-esteem. So they are the people that everyone needs to love me, I need to make sure everyone likes me. So what they do is narcissists choose empaths so that they can control them.
But hang on, doesn't that also suggest, I'm thinking about your negative experiences as you grow up determines your narcissistic behavior or personality. But is it not because you yourself suffering from low self-esteem that you actually get to the point of becoming narcissistic?
Certainly, because if you are happy within yourself, you won't feel a need to control another person.
Right.
So if I were to put it into layman's terms, I would say that it's an inferiority complex, but it's masked as superiority. And they generally choose victims that are empaths. So empaths are
A-M-P-A-T-H.
E-M-P-A-T-H-S.
Oh, empathy.
Yeah.
People with empathy. Okay.
People with empathy. So those are the
Right.
people, the Gandhi died and I took over kind
Right,
of people.
right.
Where everybody can walk all over you. You're the doormat. Narcissists love. Yes.
shamers. Okay.
So narcissists love those kind of personalities. Why? Because they are easily controlled. I read something so lovely the other day where it says the worst space to be in is a narcissist that does not have control of someone else's mind anymore.
Ooh, okay. That leaves you in the dark as well, doesn't it?
It leaves you in the dark because it's suddenly something that
It's
I
taken
don't
away.
possess anymore.
Absolutely. So both, it sounds to me almost like maybe power play or
And they
probably
kind of, in a weird sense
feed
of
each
a way,
other because
work
they
hand in
need each
hand.
other, because there's something missing in both their lives. Now, is it at all possible, and I'm just wondering how that scenario is going to play out, is two narcissists thrown together into a relationship? How volatile or
Super
easy
volatile.
is that relationship going to be? And what are the types of things that's going to play out? Give us examples.
So that can be a very, very explosive relationship, not in a positive way, because a narcissist wants to control. Now imagine you and I are in a relationship and I want to control you and you want to control me. Is anyone going to win? It's not going to happen. But what can result from there is a thought just came to my mind, is that because no one will win, maybe they will relent. Because I'm not allowing you to control me and you not allowing me to control you. So what is the best reply to a fool? Is silence, right? So the best reply to a fool is silence. So if I am narcissistic towards you and you do not respond, the first time I'll try harder to be narcissistic towards you, to try to control you.
So when you say narcissistic, you're talking controlling.
When I try to control you, because narcissist is all about control. It's all about the power that they get from an individual that they think is weaker than them.
There's also a very loose belief that suggests that narcissists are people who are entirely in love with themselves. They believe that they're the most beautiful people, they're the most powerful people, they can call all the shots, and everybody around them are all underlings. How does that relate with the true picture of a narcissist?
Hence, in the beginning of the conversation where I said that they are king or queen and master.
Okay.
So they have that inflated sense of self-importance. In their mind, they actually have scenarios and they have outcomes of scenarios where they're always the winner. So much like the Game of Thrones, where they're always sitting on the throne, because they're always master of every situation. And the volatile behavior comes in when the scenario is not played out in reality as it is in the mind.
Now, we talk about domestic violence situations or
Yes.
people who have anger issues. Now, we do know that we've talked about this in the past. People with anger issues invariably are people who feel they're not heard or people with low self-esteem.
Yes.
Where and how does this play into the field of narcissism?
So a narcissistic personality is generally an angry person, right? Because if you are whole, as we said, you have no anger because you are in control of your emotions. Your emotions are not in control of you.
And you're happy being in the space you're in.
Exactly. And bear in mind that a narcissist is not only your partner. A narcissist in your life can be your mother, can be your father, can be your children, one of your children, can be any caregiver or any relative in your life, a friend. So it's not necessarily that it would be a husband, a wife, or a partner in your life.
We're going to look at traits of a narcissist, but I'm also wondering, because as you speak, people in my own life come to mind.
Yes.
And I'm thinking of people who always wanting to be the center of attention.
Yes.
People who continuously interrupt in a conversation. People who want to be stroked and be given compliments all the time. People who kind of claim to know lots and lots and lots of people, lots of influential people,
yes,
and name drop all the time. So unpack all of that for us.
So those, you just mentioned so many narcissistic traits already. It's people that always feel a need to stand out from the crowd because they are the king and master and everybody else is the subordinates. So in modern society, we use brand by association in order to stand out from a crowd. So it's like, I know Julie Alli, so I am someone special. So hence, what they will do is, this person is my friend, or that person, or I know this one, I know that.
Or I have X amount of following on Facebook, for example, because I make very important statements on my Facebook page. Thus, I have hundreds of thousands of followers because people hook into what I say.
Or more so, not even people hook into what I say, it's because they know I'm special. They know I'm different. They know I'm worth following. So it's always a negative sense of self-importance, not anything positive, because you've always got to be the best. You always got to have the best.
You have to be the center of attention.
You have to be the center of attention. Mm-hmm. And generally, they will choose a partner that is going to feed them that. Mm-hmm. So it will be an empath that will be empathic in nature, that will always feed your ego. It's always about ego.
And if that doesn't happen, then there's going to be a blow up. But we'll talk more about it right after the ad break, and we'll also talk about the issue around domestic violence in a situation like this. Razia Mohammed, the life coach, the mentor, the motivational speaker, who's been on the show many a time, she's actually part of the ITV family, is here to talk about narcissism. It might be your partner or any one of another family member, and how that plays out in your life. Is there anything you can do to change their behavior? Because hopefully if you do, maybe you'll have an easier life. Don't know. We'll hear what she has to say right after the ad break. And we're into the final segment of our show. We are talking narcissistic personalities, and I think all of us have one of those in our families. I'm correct, aren't I?
Yes, certainly.
There are many of them walking around amongst us. Is it workable if I find that my partner or my friend or my sister is a narcissist and I want to help her? I want her to be a better version of herself, and for her to realize that, and I'm going to be bold enough to even make this statement, is that as we've been talking and unpacking, I'm also thinking that your bullies are narcissists. So to change the behavior of my loved one, suggest that they go for counseling or therapy.
The only way that someone can change is if they own up that they have a problem.
If they want to.
No form of therapy, no form of counseling, no form of coaching will help anyone if they're being forced to go. And if they don't realize that they do have a problem. If they're sitting there on their throne and they say, but there's nothing wrong with me, it's actually you that's the problem. You need to go for therapy to learn how to deal with me.
Okay.
That's very often what happens. So a narcissist until they don't acknowledge that they have a problem, no amount of therapy will help. But what can help is when you don't give the narcissist their lights, camera, action kind of attention.
But isn't that when, and I'm looking at a couple here, a couple scenario, isn't that when the domestic violence then starts? Because you're not giving them the glory, the name, fame and glory that they're looking for, or the attention, and that's when they start beating up on you verbally or physically.
That is when you bring in the authorities. But the way to stop the narcissist is to not give them their due, their action that they feel is due to them. So it's about if you put it in a domestic violence situation, then what I would do personally is I would make sure that I have the authorities on my side so as not to be beaten up. And then I would remove my attention, because the more you feed a narcissist, the more he loves it or she loves it, and the more the behavior will continue.
So we have agreed that narcissists are bullies or vice versa.
Yes.
So the type of coaching or counseling that they'd undergo would be very similar or the same.
The type of coaching and counseling would ultimately lead to your past.
And
right?
self-esteem issues.
Yes, because your past and your past circumstances and your past experiences is basically what shapes you into the person that you become. So if you become a narcissist, something has happened in your past to basically allow you to take that route. And as we said, the only thing that differentiates us between us and other four-legged animals is the power of free choice. So the power of free choice, the narcissist is choosing to be the narcissist. The empath is choosing to be the empath. But they're also choosing it according to their past experiences and their past circumstances.
Now, what about people who are wanting to rescue the world? You know, those people that the moment they believe you are the black sheep of the family, or you're in a relationship where you're not being treated fairly, they want to come in. It might be another family member or a friend, and they come in and they try to rescue you and really pay a lot of attention to you and tell you that you are great, he or she is the problem. So forget about your partner or your mom or your mom-in-law, whatever have you. We've got your back. We love you and we think you're great. What's going on there?
Well, wouldn't that be coming from their own personal space as well?
Stuff that has gone wrong in their lives.
Yes, so they are relating and resonating. So when you resonate with something or someone, then you want to go in there and play the rescue person. So that also can be negative for that person, because you're not empowering, you're enabling the negative traits. So don't worry, sit there in your little victim bubble, I have your back. That's also not empowering the person. So in the same way, as we say, the way to deal with a narcissist is not to give them the attention. And the way to deal with an empath is to tell them, this has happened, man up, get up, dust yourself off, and let's see how we can sort the problem out. Not that we will sit there and baby you and keep you as the victim.
Now, Rizia, when two people come together in marriage, for example, when you're courting or when you're engaged or when you've been proposed, you're both at your best behavior. You show the most exemplary side of yourself to the person and their family. So I won't necessarily know that you're an empath or I wouldn't know that you're a narcissist.
Yes.
And I guess we all, as we sit and speak here, we all have elements of little bits of elements of that within us. It's the
Definitely.
choices we make to project whatever we want to project within ourselves. So I want to be a strong, level-headed, stable person. I don't want those narcissistic traits of mine to come through. And I can control that, can I not?
You can control it. Again, it's the power of free choice.
Right. So it's the power of free choice, but so I don't know what you're all about. You've just been on your best behavior.
Yes.
But post the marriage, a few weeks or a few months down the line, all of those traits start playing up. What do you do at that point? Very especially if the person won't own up and agree, yes, I have a problem. Yes, this has gone wrong in my life. And yes, maybe we need to go for counseling or whatever.
That is why in this particular scenario, we have spoken so many times about premarital counseling before entering into a spousal relationship. I can't stress enough about how important premarital counseling is. And also, lots of lawyers are now drawing up contracts of this, I want this, I don't want it, not necessarily materially only. Can be, I allow this, I don't allow that, etc. But I think those kind of things are needed because of the astronomically high divorce rate, dysfunctional relationship, which leads to dysfunctional children, which leads to addictions, active addictions. It's just a ripple effect that spirals out of control. So I would say, please, premarital counseling. If you don't do that and you detect these kind of problems early on in the marriage, therapy, coaching works wonders.
If not, just walk away. But
yes,
that being said,
try first.
Yeah,
before walking
absolutely. Razia, what about, we're talking counseling, we're talking about, spotting all the signs and all of that.
Yes.
There's going to be a time where just enough is enough.
Yes.
And you just need to make a decision and just get out of this very narcissistic relationship.
I would say that when your life is in danger,
Okay.
when you know that your life is in danger, it's time to get out. Because sometimes a narcissist can become so abusive that it can be physical, it can be sexual abuse, it can be emotional, verbal abuse that is equally as bad.
We've got 2 minutes to wrap up time. So really what we're talking about, your narcissist has traits. Well, the signs and symptoms would be anger, extreme anger, blowouts, meltdowns. Self-importance, wanting to be stroked all the time.
Yes.
What about, is it because, do we see more of this in a more patriarchal society, or does it not discriminate?
I don't think that it discriminates. If we would see it in a patriarchal society, it would be a cultural setting, where they say the man is the boss, you need to listen to him, and his word is law. So I would think that would be the patriarchal side of it. But I wouldn't generalize and say, it's a male thing.
Okay.
Because I know many female narcissists. Yes.
Let's wrap up. What's the one important thing we're going to leave our viewers with as far as narcissism is concerned?
Okay, if you are dealing with a person in your life that you know is going to be in your life until the day you are here.
And you want to stay with him or her for the rest of your life.
You want to stay with him or her for the rest of your life, or it may be someone that you cannot get rid of because it may be your child or your mother or your father or whomever. I would suggest that it's about owning up to, I am important, I am enough, and I will only allow so much, and then there's a boundary where I will not allow someone to take advantage of me, and I will not allow someone to control my mind in my life.
And failing all else, hopefully they will be susceptible to going for counseling and therapy.
Well, that is the ultimate that you can go for, and we know how effective it is.
And that's all we have time for. Thank you indeed for being with us. I do hope you've enjoyed the discussions this morning. Till the next time, as always, please take care on the roads. And as always, Assalamu alaikum and Khuda Hafiz from me, Julie Alli.
قلبي على جمعة الخير هلا حن قلبي على جمعة الخير هلا يا هلا ويا هلا ويا هلا ويا هلا يا هلا ويا هلا ويا هلا ويا هلا يا هلا ويا هلا ويا هلا ويا هلا